of the research where we've been discussing the larger compost piles. So Afifa, can you
go ahead? Sure. Thank you, Dr. Sola. So phase 2 of our research is actually making compost piles at the city of Hollandale. So our approach for phase 2 is collecting the sargassum or seaweed from the beach and then bringing it to the Department of Public Works. And the 2 piles that we will be looking at is sargassum with vegetative waste and just sargassum with no additives as well. And then a kind of a timeline of what we see for the city of Hollandale is collecting the sargassum, bringing it into the facility, and measuring for the same parameters we are measuring in the tumbler composters. So we will do bi-weekly monitoring for physical and chemical parameters, and then at 9 weeks we will look at all of the parameters and then go back to bi-weekly monitoring. And then at the end, when the piles are cured, we will go to all the parameters. And then Alyssa or Kathy, I don't know if you have anything else to add in terms of the study that's going to be conducted at the city of Hollandale.
Not specifically. We don't have the beach rakers, or the surf rake rather, that Fort Lauderdale has, so we'll be using some other equipment, but generally the same. We're locating the compost piles at our public works facility in our yard and carefully placing them so they don't interact with any well fields that we have. But we're looking forward to this for sure. And it'll be a nice experiment in doing this with less space than Fort Lauderdale has, if this is possible on a smaller scale for cities that have less land.
Yeah, Alyssa, you have a good comment, and it's something that we had discussed earlier about streets. We did discuss street sweepings versus vegetative waste. Do you just want to emphasize that comment?
Sure. Sure. So the waste that is collected from our street sweeper, we are required to dispose of it in a different way than we would normally dispose of yard waste because it has so much, for lack of a better term, nasty stuff in it. So we, for the greens or the nitrogen sources for this, we'll be coordinating with Kathy, who's on the call, her landscape crew, to pick up fresh grass clippings and vegetative waste instead of using the street sweeper stuff. It would be nice to be able to use another waste like that, but I don't think that we'll be able to do it at this point.
Okay, thank you.
Cadmium is also another pollutant. We found a very high ratio when doing a study in Maryland. We determined that the cadmium comes from the vulcanizing process in tires. And you know, tires, nobody collects tires curbside, except that, you know, there are tens of thousands, if not millions, of tires sold every year because the tread wears down. And where does that tread go? It's on the street. And so when the material's collected, so is the zinc from, you know, the tires that are worn down, the tire dust.
Yeah, I think it's too complicated to try to integrate street sweepings. Again, it's just too heterogeneous and has too many other things in it that can degrade the quality of the compost. So yeah, these are all good comments. Thank you. But to finish up the main presentation, I think we're going to be on time just about. But just to finish up, our next steps is to complete the tumbler research, and then once we get an influx of sargassum, we then plan to initiate the larger scale study at Hallandale Beach Public Works. Of course, as part of our process, we will be submitting to the center, the Hinckley Center for Solid and Hazardous Waste Management, progress reports and the draft and final reports. And we plan to continue hosting our TAG meetings. Our next meeting, roughly at the very beginning of the summer in the May-June timeframe. Afifa, you had a comment that you want to add on the progress as well on the materials.
The next step for at least for our metals analysis with Dr. Olich's lab, we are waiting to freeze dry them and have them digested, and hopefully by our next TAG meeting we can have some preliminary results from that analysis as well.
Okay.
And then I'd just like to take the time to thank everyone for sticking through for our presentation, and we'll take any general questions at this time.